NBA, Demon God Pangu dominates basketball. Immortal myth. Episode 71. Garnett, who was beaten stupid. Jiang Pan plus Uncle Moo is a DJ group. Jiang Pan and KG's words are full of gunpowder, and they both seem to be full of confidence in their strength, which is the best gimmick. After a few moments, the warm-up ended and the starting lineup of both sides was released. 76ers starter, point guard, Allen Iverson, quintile, Raga Bell, small forward, Bruce Bowen, power forward, Dikembe Mutombo, center, Jiang Pan, Timberwolves starter, point guard, Chauncey Billups, quintile, Wallace Kubiak, small forward, Joe Smith, power forward, Kevin Garnett, center, Sula Nestorovic. Beep. The game whistle sounded and both sides jumped in the middle circle. After standing in their respective positions, Jiang Pan gave Iverson a look. The two now have a tacit understanding between them, and there is no need for verbal communication on the court, and they can understand each other's intentions with just one look. Jiang Pan and Nestorovic jumped the ball. The referee threw the ball upwards. Jiang Pan saw the opportunity to jump lightly, and then took the ball with a wave. After landing, Jiang Pan immediately rushed towards the front court, and the Timberwolves chased and blocked everyone, but they were still one step slower. I saw Iverson send a pass that spanned the half, assisting Jiang Pan to complete the empty catch. Boom. The sound of the explosion sounded, and the 76ers scored first. 2-0. Forehead shaking. It's the opening shot we are most familiar with. This is Jiang's second game in the NBA, and the second time he has staged such an opening. In the commentary table, Kenny Smith showed excitement. Every time he commented on Jiang Pan's match, he was more excited than ever, because Jiang Pan was always able to stir the emotions of the audience on the court. He used this opening method a lot when he was in the NCAA league, and now he brings this trick to the NBA field, and it is still an unsolvable move. I think this kind of opening method will become the norm in the NBA in the future, and it is also Jiang's unique opening method, and no one can imitate it. When you play with Jiang, you must always be ready to defend for the first time. This is Fliggy's summary after watching so many Jiang Pan matches. Originally, he thought that Jiang Pan's opening method would be difficult to use on the NBA court, but now it seems that his idea is wrong. Jiang Pan not only continued to use this opening method, but also seemed to be more fluid than before. This is probably because Jiang Pan is faster, and the passer becomes Allen Iverson, who is more technical. SHIT. Looking at the Jiang Pan hanging on the basket, Kevin Garnett frowned in surprise. He had also watched the Jiang Pan game on the spot, and he was no stranger to the opening of Jiang Pan. But really standing on the court, seeing Jiang Pan dunk so much in front of him, the degree of shock was even stronger than at that time. Garnett's face sank. He already had a hunch that today's game would be a vicious battle. Turning back, the Timberwolves sent the ball to the bottom line. Chauncey Billups carried the ball halfway through the court and handed it directly into Garnett's hands. It is worth mentioning that today Garnett did not directly confront Jiang Pan, but against Mutombo. Garnett received the ball near the free throw line, and after 2 consecutive attempts, pulled it up and threw it. Pung. But Uncle Moo's defensive area was larger than he thought. Although he did not complete the block, it also interfered with his shooting vision, and this shot did not hit. At the basket, Sula Nestorovic wanted to compete with Jiang Pan for a rebound. He is very unconvinced by this champion, and he also wants to teach a good lesson and prove his strength to the team. Nestorovic tried to jam Jiang Pan behind him, and his center of gravity sank and he pressed his back against Jiang Pan. But he found that no matter how he exerted his strength, Jiang Pan's body was like a 10,000-pound boulder, which could not be shaken at all. WTF. At this moment, Nestorovic was a little shocked. It is said that Jiang Pan's power is great, but there is no conclusion on how big it is. He thought that Jiang Pan was at most more powerful than ordinary centers, but now he completely broke this view. He even felt that he was in the opposite position of an Eiffel Tower, and Jiang Pan's feet seemed to grow in the ground. Not only failed to open the river, but also lost his position. Boom. In the end, he could only watch as Jiang Pan took off the rebound on his head. Pick Melon's overhead. Jiang Pan immediately handed the ball into Iverson's hands, and while the opponent had not completely retreated, Jiang Pan accelerated directly from the back to the front court. Stop him. On the sidelines, Timberwolves coach Philip Sanders saw Jiang Pan's intentions and immediately yelled at the players on the court. Garnett was a man, and when Jiang Pan rushed in from the three-point line, he immediately stood on his feet and protected his crotch with his hands. Want to use your own experience to create a foul on a collision, but Jiang Pan didn't mean to slow down at all, and at his speed, he would definitely crash into Garnett's body. The corners of Garnett's mouth also hooked a curve, and he secretly said in his heart, in the end, he is still young. However, just when Jiang Pan was about to collide with Garnett, his body suddenly took a diagonal step towards the left front, and he turned around perfectly, perfectly bypassing Garnett's mutual footsteps. This is the first time Jiang Pan has officially used this skill in the NBA. Although it did not use mutual footwork to hold the ball, it was also staged without the ball. Little feet together, teasing KG. At the same time, Iverson immediately sent a quarterback long pass and assisted Jiang Pan to complete the empty catch again. WW. Jiang Pan's footsteps are really too sensitive. His move turned without the ball and directly made KG a background board. Seeing this ball, Kenny Smith suddenly exclaimed, "I never expected that Jiang would have such a sensitive and gorgeous footstep in addition to rampage and violent barriers. Now it seems that this defense of KG is really stupid. He wanted to cause Jiang's foul, but he didn't expect to become a clown. He looks like a steak." Barkley couldn't help but mock. "I think KG's defensive choice this time is not wrong. If it is another big man, it may be a bumping foul. It's really hard to dodge at full speed at such a short distance. I have to say that Jiang Pan's physical control and athletic ability are really excellent. He's the only interior player I've seen who combines power and speed to perfection in a way that even Wilt Chamberlain can't do." Kenny Smith's words are not an exaggeration. Wilt Chamberlain at his peak did have strength and speed, but he was not able to combine the two to perfection, and Jiang Pan was much more sensitive than him. On the court, Jiang Pan, who had completed the empty connection, pouted at KG and shook his head again. He originally thought Garnett was a difficult guy to deal with, but now it seems that he is not much stronger. It is said that KG is one of the best inside linemen in attack and defense, but Jiang Pan did not feel it. The ball was back in the hands of the Timberwolves, and Chauncey Billups continued to hand the ball to KG and let him try his hand at singles. This is also the strategy of the Timberwolves today. They want KG to open first, and then he will lead the team. The idea is good, but in practice, it is not so smooth. Garnett faced Mutombo for the second time, and he changed his style of play. Taking advantage of his speed, Avoid swung past Mutombo's defense and went directly to the inside, but Jiang Pan immediately assisted in the defense. Wolf King Garnett originally wanted to come to a violent buckle, but when he saw Jiang Pan who was assisting in the defense, he immediately gave up this idea. He had watched Jiang Pan's game, so he knew his defensive abilities well, and he didn't want to rush in to find a cap. Thinking of this, Garnett chose the safest throw a hand. KG is tall and has long arms, and the shot point is very high. Even if Jiang Pan can be sealed, it cannot reach such a height. However, in the next breath, the expression on Garnett's face changed from surprise to shock. Bang! A muffled sound sounded above his own diagonal sound, and the basketball flew out upside down. His shot point is indeed very high, but Jiang Pan's cap is higher than him. Is your throwing arc high? A mountain is higher than a mountain. Shocked, Garnett sensed something was wrong. In the last game, Jiang Pan plus Iverson burst out the vocabulary of a combination in basketball circles. Now that I think about it, the inside combination of Jiang Pan plus Mutombo is also a bit outrageous, especially on the defensive end, which is simply desperate. These two are on the inside line, and they can no longer be called by the Twin Towers. This Nima is simply a Mount Everest. The fanning basketball flew towards Iverson's position. After receiving the rebound, Iverson immediately pushed back and attacked, and none of the opponents could keep up with his speed, and after chasing for a while, they all gave up chasing. Iverson could have easily dunked the ball in the face of an empty basket, but instead of doing so, he threw the ball behind him. Then he opened his arms and ran away without looking back. Boom! There was a sound of a violent button behind him, and Iverson's face suddenly burst into a smile. The scorer flashes. 6-0. It's another opening like this. It's very similar to their last game. I don't know if the result will be similar. Kenny Smith had some expectations. The Timberwolves are not weak. They can be regarded as a quasi-first-class team, much stronger than the Los Angeles Clippers, and are the best touchstone for the 76ers. If the 76ers can still achieve a big win in this game, it proves that their strength has indeed made a qualitative leap. I actually pay more attention to Allen Iverson than Jiang. Kenny, have you noticed that Allen Iverson's style of play has changed a lot? Barkley said suddenly. Kenny Smith was slightly stunned, thinking about it. It was really like this. In just 1 minute of the opening game, Iverson had already handed out 3 assists, which was not how he played before. Especially in the third attack, when he faced an empty basket, he still chose to pass the ball, which really changed a lot. It's all about Jiang. This young man doesn't know what kind of magic power he has, and he can make AI make changes for him. Kenny Smith exclaimed again. I think this is a natural thing. Maybe the AI has long wanted to play like this, but there has never been the right person around him. So he simply locked himself in a small dark room and carried everything on his shoulders, which also forged his true character as a lone hero. And Jiang is the key to opening the little black house. His arrival made the AI completely come out, and from now on, he no longer needs to fight everything by himself. It's not so much that Jiang changed him, but that Jiang released him, and maybe that's what he was in the first place. Speaking of this, Flying Pig Barkley's expression was a little dark, because he and Iverson had the same experience. At the beginning of his career, he also played the role of a lone hero with the Philadelphia 76ers, but Allen Iverson was luckier than himself, because he waited for Jiang Pan, but he didn't. Above the pitch, the game continues. Wolf King Garnet was not yet reconciled, and after losing twice, he began to try his third singles. In the face of Uncle Moo's defense, he used his agile footsteps to open up some space, and then raised the arc of his shot. This time, the shot was not disturbed in any way, and Garnet was confident that the goal could be scored. However, snap, another crisp sound. Jiang Pan rushed out of the diagonal thorn and continued to add ingredients to the hot pot. This time the cap was the same as just now, but the basketball flew out farther than just now, flying directly to the front court. Fortunately, Iverson's reaction was fast, and the moment he saw Jiang Pan complete the blocking, he had already rushed towards the front court. I think I should attack himself this time. As soon as Kenny Smith's words fell, I saw Iverson smash the ball hard into the rebound. Bang! After rebounding back, Jiang Pan quickly went down, jumped directly at the free throw line for the fourth empty catch, and successfully staged in front of all fans. In the opening minute or more, Jiang Pan and Iverson have staged 4 aerial relays. The opening air relay surprised Kevin Garnett. Gorgeous off the ball turned empty to catch the dunk, which shocked Kevin Garnett. The big hat fan flew plus quickly took the air, leaving Kevin Garnett without a place. And now, the third cap, the fourth air relay, is directly Kevin Garnettal, and even a little doubtful. He has played basketball for so long, and he has never seen such a scene. Not just a block, an empty catch in front of the free throw line, or an empty catch on the board, this Nima, or a person? In the next round, Garnett, who did not admit defeat, also wanted to cooperate with Billups in a wave of air connections. Just as he was about to dunk the ball into the basket, a huge palm whistled, slapped the basketball on the rebound, and sent a sturdy nail-board hat. The fans and commentators at the scene were all stunned. This is to take KG unlimited brush cap, unlimited brush empty pick In less than 90 seconds of the opening game, Jiang Pan angrily brushed 4 blocks. For empty catches, Jiang broke another record, which is the shortest 4 blocks in the NBA. At the same time, it is also the 4 shortest empty connections in the NBA. Kenny Smith's look is extremely excited, and anyone who sees such an opening will be enthusiastic. This is also on the road. If it is at the home of the 76ers, it is estimated that the top of the arena will be lifted. Charles Barkley looked at Jiang Pan, and then glanced at Uncle Moo and Iverson. If you say Jiang Pan plus Allen Iverson, it is a combination A. Then Jiang Pan plus Dickenberg Mutombo is a DJ combination. Episode 72. Inside Line Everest 8848. Eat the Jiang Pan that grew up with an airplane. The 76ers' last game against the Clippers, debuting champion Lane Jiang Pan and answering Allen Iverson, feasted fans' eyes. But it is precisely because the offensive cooperation between Jiang Pan and Iverson is too amazing. So many fans ignore the interior defensive combination of Jiang Pan and Mutombo. The defensive cooperation of the two of them on the inside is like the left and right hands of boxing king Mike Tyson. The cooperation is flawless, and the 2 heavy punches on the inside. Anyone who wants to score in the 76ers penalty area must first get their consent. As Garnett thought, Jiang Pan and Mutombo guarded the inside line. It's like standing up Mount Everest in front of the basket. If you want to score, you have to turn over, but to climb over this height, it's almost impossible to complete. Charles, I completely agree with this statement of yours. I think Group A is now the sharpest spear in the league, and the D combination is the toughest forbidden area guardian shield in the alliance. Now the sharpest spears and the hardest shields are occupied by the 76ers. This team is too strong. Kenny Smith's description is apt. The core figure of these 2 strongest weapons is Jiang, and no matter who they are irreplaceable. Just imagine, can replacing Jiang with Shaquille still achieve such an effect? The first thing that is certain is that if you change to Shaquille, these 3 will still be a very scary combination, but I think the effect is definitely not as good as Jiang. Shaquille's speed is much slower than Jiang's, so it is difficult for him to keep up with the speed of Allen Iverson, and he cannot complete so many air connections with Jiang. So the strongest spear does not hold. This is at most 2 unsolvable attack points. Besides, defense, because of the limitation of movement ability, Shaquille's defensive coverage area is also smaller than Jiang's. He can't defend the outside, so the strongest shield can't be formed. Flying Pigs Charles Barkley analyzed it carefully. Although he is a person who runs trains with his mouth full of mouse on weekdays, he is still very reliable when analyzed carefully. After all, people used to be a shining flying pig on the basketball court. In a professional level of basketball, he is definitely qualified to make such an analysis. The game continues. Iverson held the ball through the half and made a blocking cooperation with Jiang Pan in the high position. After blocking and dismantling, Jiang Pan immediately went down, like a mountain marching, sweeping under the impact basket. It could not be stopped at all. Boom. This is the 5th air connection tonight, and the protagonists are all Jiang Pan and Iverson. In 5 consecutive empty connections, Jiang Pan's score has doubled, and Iverson's assist statistics have also improved to 5. Wolf King Garnett crossed his hands at his waist. His expression was full of helplessness. He had fantasized about 100 ways to start, but Jiang Pan hit 101 that he didn't expect at all. Not only Garnett, but the rest of the Timberwolves players were equally horrified. they learned for the first time that basketball could be played like this. Where is this basketball? This is simply a flying acrobatic show. This is the scariest air catch show I've ever seen. This guy in Jiang Pan, I'm afraid he didn't grow up eating planes. The look of wonder on Kenny Smith's face has not subsided since the opening. This guy shouldn't be playing basketball, he should be in the queue for wingsuit flying. Barkley is known as the flying pig of the air, and he played very vigorously in his youth, often seeing him in the air. But compared to Jiang Pan, Barkley felt embarrassed to call this nickname. On the sidelines, Timberwolves head coach Sanders was also completely stunned, and he hurriedly asked the referee for a timeout. This suspension Sanders coach didn't know what to say. He felt that it was just a glass of water. How could the difference be beaten 10 o'clock by the other party? This is simply outrageous. On the bench of the Timberwolves, the players looked at each other with wide eyes. They just felt as if it was a dream, and until now some people have not reacted to what is going on. Their defense is not very loose, and the rhythm is normal. How can they be abused by their opponents? Let's fix him. We're never going to let him run rampant in Minnesota. Joe Smith and Razanoslavic stepped forward. Head coach Sanders glanced at the two and was speechless, not knowing where the confidence of these two came from. Even Kevin Garnett can't score in front of Jiang Pan and Mutombo. These two forward players actually vainly say that they want to get Jiang Pan. I'm afraid it's not brain water, right? Sanders shook his head. You two are far from enough. That guy is not comparable to ordinary people. Speaking of this, he paused for a moment, then narrowed his eyes and continued. If you want to prevent him, you need more people. After a few moments, the timeout ended and the game continued. The Timberwolves made a move that stunned everyone, which was to use 3 men to pinch the river. Kevin Garnett plus Joe Smith plus Razanoslavic. Jiang, surrender, you completely angered us, and next, it is the moment for you to bear the wrath. Joe Smith spewed a trash word directly at Jiang Pan. Oh, sorry, these 2 words will only appear in your dictionary. Jiang Pan responded strongly, and the smell of gunpowder at the scene suddenly skyrocketed. After the Timberwolves sent out the touchline ball, Chauncey Billups found an open spot on cover, and he chose a mid-range jump shot to score 2 points. The goal also helped the Timberwolves break the scoring drought. After the timeout, Chauncey scored the Timberwolves' first goal of the game. Hopefully, this goal will help them play the horn on the counterattack and not let this game lose its suspense too early. In the commentary box, Kenny Smith began to look forward to it. He hoped it was a good start, and he hoped that the game would be more intense. Turning back, Allen Iverson pushed forward with the ball. He wanted to continue to give the ball to Jiang Pan's hand, but found 2 people standing in front of him, and another person behind him. Seeing this scene, Iverson couldn't help frowning slightly, and the opposite side of the relationship directly made a 3-person bag clip to Jiang Pan, and he was still in the case of no ball, obviously not wanting Jiang Pan to take the ball. Since you can't pass the ball, just attack yourself. Don't forget, he also has a near inexplicable breakthrough ability. Allen Iverson doesn't need to think too much, since Jiang Pan can't catch the ball for the time being. The burden of attack naturally falls on him. Because the other 3 are only tasked with defense, they don't want to attack, so Iverson can ignore the feelings of others. With him is the big heart Chauncey Billups. Billups has good defensive ability, and his match with Allen Iverson is also one of the highlights of this game. Bowen, Bell, and others opened up space for Iverson as much as possible to create one-on-one opportunities for him. Outside the 3-point line, facing Billups' defense, Allen Iverson directly launched an attack without saying a word. Bang bang! A continuous stream of butterflies burst out through the flowers, followed by a very deceptive forward change of direction, and 1 step swung past the defense of Billups, and then mid-range emergency stop jumper. It's here. The classic crossover of AI, Kenny Smith exclaimed. As we all know, this trick is Iverson's housekeeper, and it is with this trick that he has passed the basketball god. Crossover is a trick that many outside players use, but Allen Iverson is the only one who uses it to the extreme. It's no exaggeration to say that Iverson injected crossover into his soul. There is a saying in the basketball world, everyone knows Iverson will break through from the right side, but no one can prevent it, and 10 years from now, there will be a guy named Kyrie Irving in the NBA. And his ability to combine people and balls is no less than Iverson. And after that, the basketball world will have one more word. Owen can pass you 100 ways, and Iverson can pass you 100 times in one way. Obviously, these words illustrate the power of Iverson's crossover. Billups' defensive ability among outside players was already in the first tier, but he was still unable to prevent him against Allen Iverson. This trick is so beautiful that even Jiang Pan is bright. However, what surprised Jiang Pandu was that after the AI crossover, he did not choose to shoot, but high throw assist. With 5 players at the basket, Mutombo helped Jiang Pan block Garnett, who was the most threatening. Joe Smith and Razanoslavic did their best to keep Jiang Pan behind, but when the basketball fell, the 2 jumped at the same time, trying to grab the basketball. But just when they were about to get the rebound, Jiang Pan jumped from behind them, and then came to the top, taking the rebound directly from the heads of the 2 of them, and when the 2 fall, dunk the ball into the basket. Bang! At the moment of mending the button, the bodies of the 3 collided in the air, and they saw the two fly out of the bottom line. Joe Smith and Razun Nestrovic sat outside the bottom line and looked at Jiang Pan with a look of horror. They were stuck in the best position to compete for basketball just now. But even so, they still couldn't grab the basketball and were completed by Jiang Pan. The most humiliating thing is, the two of them were also ruthlessly knocked off the sidelines. In fact, this is already Jiang Pan's subordinates. If he exerts all his strength, these two people will not fall on the floor as simple, and they are likely to be directly injured. This is a foul. On the sidelines, Timberwolves head coach Sanders was anxious, and he thought Jiang Pan was a complete foul. But the referee ignored his rants, and they saw it clearly. It was a clean partition. Although Jiang Pan jumped behind the two, he did not have any physical contact with his opponent when he got the basketball. The reason why Joe Smith and Razun Nestrovic were knocked off was entirely because of their physical weakness after Jiang Pan's dunk. Strictly speaking, this is a 1v2 empty snap. You brothers, you won't really come to surrender, will you? Jiang Pan looked at the two people sitting on the floor and immediately mocked. Fans in the front row of the bottom line could hear it clearly, wearing Timberwolves jerseys, but they felt a pang of shame. They never imagined that the Timberwolves, who were playing at home, would be pressed to the floor by Jiang Pan and Iverson. Lao Tzu now regrets wearing this shirt. He should wear Jiang's shirt. KG, what's going on today? There are others who seem to be completely out of state and are about to enter garbage time after fighting like this. Maid. I want a refund. Where is this NBA game? It's just a bunch of adults bullying schoolchildren. The Timberwolves are really disappointing. It's really not as good as the year, and the three of them can't get that Celestial Empire center? Some bad-tempered home team fans have already developed emotions in their hearts, and after seeing the Timberwolves open like this, they are all cursing. There were even some disappointed fans who took off their Timberwolves jerseys directly. Far away on the other side of the ocean, the fans were full of pride after seeing such an opening. Brother Pan is worthy of being the demon god on the court. This way of playing is really fucking exciting. Brother Pan is so powerful. Just play like this, and let them know the strength of the Celestial Empire players. If I have the opportunity, I must go to the scene to watch a game of Pangu, Chienda, to feel his charm on the field up close. Now, as long as it is a match in Jiang Pan, CTV5 will broadcast it, and no one will be absent, and this decision has also been praised by Celestial Empire fans. In this era of the nascent rise of the internet, fans can only watch NBA games through TV5 broadcasts, so it is still relatively inconvenient. Especially for fans of the student party and office workers, it is not easy for them to watch a game in Jiang Pan, but whenever they have time and opportunity, they will not hesitate to turn on the TV and tune to CTV5. Even if something happens halfway, you have to see the game end. This is Jiang Pan's influence in the Celestial Empire now. The Celestial Empire has already set off basketball. Jiang Pan hot. This is Jiang Pan's second match, and compared to the first game, he played more comfortably. The 12 points I got in the opening game were all from Jiang Pan alone. If he maintains this offensive efficiency, maybe he can cut a high score today and even break the record in the last game. In the CTV5 live broadcast room, Zhang Reasonable also said slowly. Zhang Reasonable's expression was full of pride, and he even wanted to have 2 drinks in the live broadcast room. I originally thought that Garnett could fight back and forth with Jiang Pan, but I didn't expect that even he suffered losses in front of Jiang Pan, which is really rare. You know, even against O'Neal, Garnett has never been beaten like this. It can only be said that the combination of Jiang Pan and Uncle Mu is too strong. Iverson plus Uncle Mu plus Jiang Pan. They are the Philadelphia Big Three. Episode 73. Halftime 40 plus 20 plus 11. Timberwolves fans are extremely cold. At this time, Joe Smith and Razun Nestrovic, who were detained on the ground, looked at Jiang Pan with a shocked expression. Until now, they all couldn't understand how Jiang Pan did it. They only felt that their brains were confused, blank, and their faces were even hotter, as if they had been slapped fiercely. At the moment when they were knocked into the air just now, the two only felt like their bodies had crashed into a train. Jiang Pan's mockery continued to echo in their minds, lingering like a magic spell. At this moment, they deeply felt fear, and also made them clearly realize how huge the gap between themselves and Jiang Pan was. Now they regret what they just said. If time can be turned back, they will definitely be far away from Jiang Pan. The game continued, and Jiang Pan's backup demoralized the opponent, and in the next few rounds, the Timberwolves frequently played iron on the offensive end, and the point gap between the two sides was widened. There was a tendency to collapse in the first quarter of the game, and the Timberwolves now have to have someone step up and score. If you keep it like this, I'm afraid that the end of the first quarter will enter garbage time. In the commentary box, Kenny Smith was anxious for the Timberwolves. He has watched and talked about the NBA for so many years, and rarely seen such scenes. The Timberwolves are much stronger than the Clippers, but now it seems that they are not as good as the Clippers. I don't understand what they're doing. Where are the Timberwolves like an NBA team today? Flying Pig Barkley's face also showed dissatisfaction. From the beginning of the game to now, it has been a completely one-sided situation, is the 76ers really strong to this extent? With the referee's whistle, the first quarter of the game is over. 3-5-1-7. Throughout the first quarter, the Timberwolves scored just 17 points. And it was because Chauncey Billups hit 2 consecutive three-pointers at the end, otherwise they wouldn't have scored even 17 points. Jiang Pan played the full first quarter, and he personally cut down 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks. This also made him the first rookie player in NBA history to be 20 plus 10 plus 5 in a single quarter. I really don't understand what the Timberwolves are doing. They didn't score as high as Jiang alone in the first quarter. What's more deadly is that they lost 18 points in the first quarter, and if they played 120 points, the first half of the game was completely over, and Barkley kept shaking his head. Before the start of the game, many people also did the analysis. In terms of overall strength, the 76ers are indeed stronger, but the gap will not be particularly large. At least in the opening stages, the two sides should be able to remain anxious, but now it seems that it is not at all what they thought. Hopefully, after the inter-quarter adjustment, the Timberwolves can regain some form in the second quarter and not let the game lose its suspense too early. Also, Kevin Garnett has to step up and score and not be able to languish like in the first quarter. He has to be responsible as the leader of the Timberwolves, rather than choosing to stealth. Kenny Smith mentioned Garnett, who obviously did a bad job in the first quarter, and he was not able to play the role of team leader. When the team was in trouble, Garnett didn't even attack for a few rounds, but instead Chauncey Billups stepped up. At this point, the camera was given to the Timberwolves bench. Head coach Saunders is reprimanding Kevin Garnett. Shuai, don't be afraid to shoot. You are the most reliable scoring point in the team. Now we are in a passive situation. You have to stand up and score. In the second quarter, you cover Kevin as much as possible from the defensive area of the Celestial Center and Dikembe Mutombo, Sanders said as he pulled out a tactical board and gestured at it. Although they trailed by 18 points, they were not yet ready to give up, and they had a full 3 quarters to rewrite the scoreline. Soon, the interbreak ended and the second quarter began, with the Timberwolves launching their first offense of the quarter. Chauncey Billups held the ball through the halfway and handed it to Joe Smith on the weak side. Razio Nestervich immediately came up to give him a cover and blocked Bruce Bowen. Joe Smith completed the breakthrough. However, Jiang Pan directly assisted in the defense. Joe Smith now sees Jiang Pan with a pang of longing, thinking of the scene of being knocked over by the other party in the first quarter, and he still feels afraid. He tried to pass the ball to Garnett, but found Mutombo in front of Garnett and completely blocked the passing route. In desperation, he had to pass the ball back to Nestorovic. The latter, after receiving the ball, faced Bruce Surrounding's misplaced defense and directly chose a mid-range jumper. Bowen tried his best to jump and interfere, but the gap in height made his interference not very good. Nestorovic finished the shot easily. However, snap, a familiar voice sounded, and the closure of Jiang Pan arrived as scheduled. The basketball was fanned directly out of the sideline and flew towards the audience seats on the second floor. OMG, this is another cap. He seemed to move instantaneously, just now in front of Joe Smith, flew in front of Razio in an instant, and completed the cap. In the commentary table, Kenny Smith looked high. It's really a terrifying defensive ability. Jiang's defense is not only full of deterrence, but also has a wide range, which is simply terrifying. Fortunately, I am now retired, and if I fight him, I may also be doubted by him. Barkley's eyes widened. Charles, be confident, remove the maybe. Kenny Smith laughed. There is no shortage of defensive players in this league, but only 3 people can shock Barkley with defense. The first is Lord of the Rings Bill Russell, the NBA legend who has long retired. The second is Dikembe Mutombo, whose defensive ability at his peak has also made countless interior players feel restless, especially his finger-shaking action after completing the block, which is a classic on the court. And the last one is the current Jiang Pan. Although this is only his second game in the NBA, his defense has already shocked Barkley. Even compared to the above two, Barkley believes that Jiang Pan's defense is better. Today, 2 of those 3 play with the 76ers, and you can imagine how strong this defense is. In fact, it is no wonder that the Timberwolves only scored 17 points in the first quarter, but because the 76ers defense was too strong, KG could hardly find any scoring opportunities on the inside. The ball was still in the hands of the Timberwolves, but there was little time left on the offensive sideline, and Garnett suddenly accelerated to run back, throwing off the defensive Uncle Mu and successfully receiving the serve. Without any hesitation, he caught the ball and threw it, deliberately raising the arc. But always, there is still no escape from Jiang Pan's clutches. Snap, another sturdy closure. Looking at the basketball flying upside down, Garnett's heart was dripping blood. This is Jiang's 7th cap. I really don't understand what KG is doing. Kenny Smith is almost out of sight. Kenny, I don't think KG can be blamed for this. In fact, rational analysis, the DJ group's defensive ability is too strong. Water G is consumed by these 2 guys in turn. It's really too difficult. Don't say it's him. Even if Shaquille comes, it is estimated that it will be enough to choke. Now it seems that no one in this league can kill the DJ group on the inside. Barkley changed his mind again. Previously, he thought that Shaquille O'Neal could fight Jiang Pan, but after watching this period of defense, he thought that it was a big shark. Nor can they survive under the defense of these two. DJ combination is any insider's nightmare. Garnett didn't want to lead the team to chase points, but now he really can't. The defensive pressure that Mutombo and Jiang Pan put on him is too great, let alone score, even if it is a smooth shot. In the following round, Jiang Pan delivered 2 more blocks on the defensive end, and his personal block statistics have increased to the 9th. Triple-double. Triple-double, triple-double. The fans chanted the slogan of triple doubles, WTF. It's just crazy, Kenny Smith exclaimed again and again. This is Minnesota's home stadium. Timberwolves fans were impressed by Jiang Pan's crazy performance, and they all turned against each other. MYGOD. I haven't seen such a scene for a long time. Jiang's game is really exciting to watch, whether at home or away. He can always use his performance to drive the emotions of the fans. Not long after the start of the second quarter, Jiang had already obtained his 9th block, and he was only 1 block away from completing the triple-double. With his defensive ability, there is no problem at all, and it is only a matter of time before he is able to block a triple-double. Barkley began to look forward to it. Everyone is waiting for the 10th cap of Jiang Pan. Complete the triple-double. I'll stay away from that guy. On the sidelines, Timberwolves head coach Sanders roared like crazy. None of the Timberwolves players want Jiang Pan to get a triple-double. And even if they don't score points, they won't shoot in front of Jiang Pan. Over the next few rounds, the Timberwolves' offensive options focused on the outside. Jiang Pan also saw the other party's intentions, and couldn't help but sneer secretly. In fact, for him, this scene is not unfamiliar. The same was true a few months ago, during a match in March Madness, where opponents avoided him in order to keep him from completing a triple-double. I thought this kind of ridiculous thing would only happen in the NCAA league. Unexpectedly, in the NBA, the same thing happened. Since the other party doesn't want him to take 3 doubles, then he wants to take it. This kind of thing, it's not the first time he has done it. When the game was more than 6 minutes into the second quarter, Billups looked for a shot from beyond the 3-point line. The inner Jiang Pan kept staring at him, as if a tiger had been observing its prey. Billups faced Iverson's defense, and he sought a cover. After covering, an empty space immediately appeared in front of him, and Billups decisively combined the ball. As everyone knows, when they formed a cover, the tiger hiding in the shadows had already quietly moved. The basketball was thrown, but the moment it left his fingertips, a tall figure suddenly appeared in Billups' eyes. Not good. Billups's heart suddenly clicked, and a strong sense of foreboding welled up. But now that he has finished shooting, it is like splashed water, and there is no room for recovery. Pung. The tiger's giant palm slapped on its prey at once. The 10th cap. This is Jiang's 10th block of the game. He finished a triple-double. Jiang is the first player in NBA history to complete a triple-double in his rookie season. This is also Jiang's first triple-double on the NBA court. Kenny Smith's voice was a little hoarse, and he looked more excited than Jiang Pan himself. 32 points, 15 rebounds, 10 blocks. Jiang Pan scored such statistics in less than 2 minutes on the court, and Jiang Pan is now only 19 years and 6 months, which makes him the youngest triple-double player in NBA history. At the same time, this is also the shortest Mr. Triple-Double in NBA history. In the last game, Jiang became the youngest 30-point and 40-point man in NBA history. Tonight, he became the youngest Mr. Sanswong again. I just want to say that this young center from the Celestial Empire is the record reaper. Although this is only his second game, he has already shown his superstar temperament to the fullest. Barkley kept praising that Jiang Pan's performance was impeccable, and he couldn't find anything to hack. After this one cap, the Timberwolves seemed to have their souls drained. For the rest of the second quarter, they were defeated and had no way to fight back. 7-2-3-7. By the end of halftime, the difference had widened to 35 points. Jiang Pan alone recorded a super triple-double of 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 11 blocks. 20 rebounds in the half, 40 points in the half, all set new rookie records. At this moment, the management of the 76ers is extremely excited, and their trade is simply too wise. Jiang Pan is the best gift for parachuting into Philadelphia. Kami Jiang. In the audience, some of the Timberwolves players have completely defected, and they even shouted Jiang Pan's exclusive slogan. There were also some die-hard Timberwolves fans who got up and left the arena full of disappointment and anger. It can be seen that the stadium that was almost full now has a lot of empty seats since KG came to Minnesota. They have entered the playoffs 4 times, but they have fallen in the first round of the playoffs for 4 consecutive years. The hearts of fans are already as cold as this city, and today, cold Minnesota has another layer of frost. It chilled the hearts of the fans. Episode 74. The head coach also came to rub Jiang Pan. Jiang Pan Larry Brown is the strongest combination of commanders. Celestial Empire, CTV5 live broadcast room. Looking at Jiang Pan's performance in the first half of the game today, there are only 4 words to describe it. Shocking. 40 points, 20 rebounds, 11 blocks in the half. What a terrible statistic. Mo said that he is a rookie, even though superstars in the league today, no one has played such a performance. Zhongli was deeply impressed by Jiang Pan's performance. In his opinion, Jiang Pan does not look like a rookie who has just entered the league at all, but a superstar who has been playing in the league for many seasons. I think if Jiang Pan had been born a few years earlier, When all 4 centers were at their peak, he might have been able to become the 5th center. In the first 2 games of his career, he definitely played better than the big 4 centers. In Sukun's mind, Jiang Pan is already a player who can compete with the big 4, the center. And this is only 2 games. Maybe we can imagine a little more bold, if in previous years, Jiang Pan may have become a super center above the big 4. Zhang Reason's words surprised Sukun. You must know that the 4 major centers almost represent the ceiling of the inside players. And can Jiang Pan still be above the ceiling? At halftime, both sides returned to the dressing room to rest. The home team's dressing room. Kevin, you won't play in the second half. All you have to do is observe the way that Celestial Empire Center plays off the court, Coach Sanders said to a frustrated Garnett. Garnett doesn't have any opinion on this. In this match, he has been stunned by Jiang Pan and Mutombo, like sleepwalking. He admits that he is not well prepared and has never seen a player like Jiang Pan, so he should be carefully observed in the way he plays. At least in the next encounter, it will not be as miserable as today. On the other side, the visiting team's dressing room. Jiang, your performance today is also too fierce. It is said that those who play fiercely are also outstanding in that aspect. No wonder Jessica Alba and Scarlett John were able to be included by you at the same time. Jiang, you are young, the water of the goddess is very deep, you can't grasp it. But brother is experienced, brother can help you bear. Jiang Pan looked at these LSP speechlessly, who can stand this, and drive without saying a word. 15 minutes of intermission ended and the 2 sides faced off in the second half. What? KG is missing the second half because of knee discomfort? What for? I didn't see him hurt either. In the commentary table, Kenny Smith was surprised when he learned the news. And more than that, it's disappointment. Originally, the Timberwolves were a lot behind, but now Garnett is not playing directly. And this game is even less interesting. Kenny, thanks to you also engaged in the understanding industry for many years, so you can't see this trickiness? If my guess is correct, KG chose to avoid the battle under the pretext of being injured, because there is no need to continue playing this game. Instead of playing, it is better to sit on the bench and observe Zhang's style of play. Listening to Barkley's words, Kenny Smith reacted. After the start of the second half of the game, Jiang Pan did not see Garnett on the field, and he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Before this fight, he was even ready to fight Garnett for 300 rounds, but he never thought that this guy couldn't help but fight so much. In less than 2 minutes in the second half, Jiang Pan was replaced, and the game completely lost its suspense. Beep. The final whistle blew and the game was over. 10882. The 76ers won their first away win of the season with a 26-point victory. In the whole game, Jiang Pan handed over 45 points, 23 rebounds, and 13 blocks for a super triple-double. Allen Iverson contributed a double-double with 28 points and 17 assists. The 17 assists are also the highest of his current career. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, it's really hard to imagine that Iverson, who is a scoring, could throw so many assists in a game. Another member of the DJ group, Uncle Moo, had 7 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, and although he didn't score much, he did a good job of defensive tasks, and there were some things that the data could not reflect. After the match, TNT reporters conducted post-match interviews with both sides as always. Coach Sanders, did this game lead to this result because you weren't prepared? Timberwolves coach Saunders took a deep breath and then said slowly, yes, we know that the opponent is very strong and prepared for the tough fight before the game, but underestimated them. We tried all the ways and still couldn't stop Jiang and Allen Iverson from scoring. It's not KG's fault. It's no one's fault. It's my lack of preparation. In fact, the most terrifying thing is their defensive ability. I dare say that they are definitely the most defensive team in NBA history. There is no one. Last season, they reached the finals with A's, and this year they have a better chance. Sanders' last words surprised the reporter. Very few people think this way about a team at the beginning of the season. The reporter then found Kevin Garnett. Shueji, it is said that your knee is injured? How does it feel now? That's right, I accidentally twisted my knee during an attack in the first half and now it's a little sore. Saying that, Garnett also reached out and rubbed his knee, as if he really had an injury. In fact, only he knew that this was just a showmanship. And the hardness of fighting and retreating is not only reflected in fighting. In the first half of today's game, you lost a lot of points, resulting in the early loss of suspense in the game. Is it because the strength gap is too big? The reporter continued to ask. There's no denying that we have a certain gap with the 76ers, but it's not that big. The reason why we fought like this was completely because of our carelessness, but I didn't expect Jiang to fight so fiercely as soon as he came up, and our defensive intensity was not able to match him in time. However, today's regret is for the wonderful next meeting. I'm looking forward to it more than anyone now. The next time I meet Jiang Pan, the Wolf King Garnett thinks a game loss is nothing. After all, everyone is in bad form. He was very unconvinced by the loss of this game, and decided to go back to watch the replay and observe Jiang Pan's playing style. He even secretly vowed to be ashamed of himself in the next game. Hey, KG. And just as Garnett was on his way back to the locker room, Timberwolves coach Philip Sanders suddenly shouted, "What's the matter, head?" KG asked. "How's it going?" Coach Sanders asked quietly. KG looked dazed. "Observe?" What observation? I didn't understand what you mean. Philip Sanders frowned. I want you to observe the way Jiang Pan plays in the second half. For a full second half, what method do you get? Hearing this, KG's black face turned red, and he said embarrassed, seriously, I only observed that the D combination is very strong inside, and I haven't found a way to defeat them for the time being. Philip Sanders. Lao Tzu let you sit on the bench in the second half, which is to let you find a way to crack the D combination. The result is no way? Sanders vomited blood. At this time, in the changing room of the away team, Jiang Pan and others briefly rinsed, and then attended the post-match press conference with head coach Larry Bueling. This is your second game of the new season, and like the last one, this is another big win. Do you think for you, does that mean rising? Sure. Iverson didn't think about it, and immediately replied, a big win in a game may have an element of luck, but a succession of big wins is a symbol of strength. Minnesota is not a weak brigade, they have leaders like Kevin and Chauncey, but even so, they still can't stop us from winning by big scores. The inner and outer line combination of me and Jiang is invincible, even if the K combination comes. As you can see, in this game, Jiang and I combined forces with 71 points, 30 rebounds, 20 assists, 14 blocks, and 6 steals. Allen Iverson could not hide the excitement in his heart. He had never felt like this. Many Iverson fans are worried that Iverson's data will decline sharply after Jiang Pan comes. But now it seems that this worry is completely superfluous. Iverson's scoring average is down slightly from last season, but his efficiency increased by 8 percentage points. And the average number of assists per game has more than tripled. Overall, his stats are better than last season. Being able to win easily while playing super stats is nothing happier for Iverson. You know, last season, he had to do his best every game, even exhausted after the game, to lead the team to victory. And now, he can save ordinary energy and easily win the game, which is simply wonderful. I'm not happy if you say that. Mutombo on the side couldn't help but echo. Jiang He is definitely the strongest combination of internal and external lines, but don't forget, me and Jiang are the strongest combination of internal lines and twin towers. You know, offense is important, but the foundation of a championship team is built on defense, and a solid defense is more important than a sharp attack. Jiang and I have defended off a lot of Timberwolves' offense, and that's the key to a big win. An old Uncle Moo said and shook his finger playfully. Intentionally or unintentionally, he glanced at Allen Iverson. His action was all captured by the camera, plus what he just said. It seemed like there was a sense of jealousy with Iverson. These reporters at the press conference were also amused by Uncle Moo. In short, whoever combined with Jiang Pan will become the strongest. I have to say, he's such an amazing player. Now that you have Jiang, it is equivalent to having the opportunity to attack the championship again. Coach Buelang, do you think you have a chance this season? Mike Buelang nodded immediately. You all have seen that Jiang is our most successful operation in all these years. We lost in the finals last season, but now I feel that this is our greatest luck, because we got Jiang. We lost one championship, but we had the opportunity to chase more. The entire 76ers team is now full of confidence. To put it bluntly, they are fighting for this year's championship. Also, I have to say that, Larry Buelang said with a smile, the combination of me and Jiang Pan is the strongest combination in the NBA. Burst. As soon as this remark came out, the group of reporters present almost did not recognize a sip of salt soda. Iverson and Uncle Moo formed Jiang Pan. A coach also comes to rub Jiang Pan? This terrier plays, so 6. Finally, the reporter pointed the microphone at Jiang Pan. Jiang. Congratulations, you have set several more records in this race. It's only the second game of your career and you've broken a lot of records, which is incredible. We've seen a lot of rookies who debuted at the pinnacle, but no one has ever been able to play as dominant as you. Can you tell us how you did it? In the eyes of reporters, Jiang Pan is no longer a pure player. He is simply a miracle in the NBA. I didn't really try to brush the numbers, I just did what I thought was right on the field. Before I got into the NBA, I thought it would be hard to survive here, but I didn't expect it to be easy. It's like facing the Timberwolves today. They have Kevin Garnett. Everyone says he's one of the best big men in this league. Maybe he's not in good shape today. Anyway, I didn't feel it. It seems to have blown him up casually. Jiang Pan's expression was very indifferent, as if he was not proud at all about breaking Garnett. Since he said he wasn't ready, then I'm looking forward to the next fight with him. The next day, one news report after another followed. After 2 consecutive games, Jiang Pan shocked the entire basketball world, especially the formula that Iverson and Uncle Moo said. Jiang Pan plus Iverson is the strongest combination of internal and external lines. Jiang Pan plus Uncle Moo is the strongest inside combination. In just a few days, this year's champion has become a well-known figure. In fact, in this rookie, there are many excellent rookie players, such as Tyson Chandler, Paul Gasol, Gilbert Arenas, Jason Richardson, and so on. These guys also played very well in the game. However, because Jiang Pan's performance was too dazzling, covering up the edge of other players. All fans focused on him, especially fans of the Philadelphia 76ers, who even made a lot of posters and posted them online. The most of them are the big three posters of Allen Iverson, plus Jiang Pan, plus Dikembe Mutombo. Importantly, they also put Jiang Pan in the middle. Jiang, take a look. You're more popular in Philadelphia than I am now. It's so unfair. I've dedicated so many years to the city, and you've surpassed me in just 2 races. After Allen Iverson saw those posters, he couldn't help but laugh. Haha, they are just fresh for a while, as if they are used to seeing their wives at home, and they always think that the mistress is the most beautiful. Uncle Moo's words suddenly left the two speechless for a while, and this metaphor was inevitably too low. Episode 75. The so-called romance, that is, I wave a little, you slow down. If you say, Jiang Pan is the 76ers' most correct trade in recent years, then for the Wizards, this is the worst deal in years, a disaster in the history of trading. After a season of rotten swings, the Wizards were favored by Lady Luck, allowing them to draw the top pick, and used the top pick to select Jiang Pan. This was originally an opportunity for the Wizards to rise, but now they have given this opportunity to the 76ers, and the chips exchanged are very different from Jiang Pan. The general manager of the Wizards team looked at the overwhelming reports about Jiang Pan on the internet, and his lungs were almost exploded. He can't wait to slap himself a few times now. At that time, it was definitely a hot brain to make such a foolish decision. As far as Jiang Pan's performance is concerned, the Philadelphia 76ers trade is like a robbery. They paid a small price to reap a player who could become historic, and the deal was a real profit. Almost all Wizards fans now spray Wizards management online every day. What's even more infuriating is that 76ers fans are still in the comments section. When the general manager of the Wizards saw these remarks, he almost didn't pull out. That is, his heart can withstand it. If there is a heart attack or something, it is estimated that he will already go to God at this time. He turned off his computer, not wanting to see the messages anymore, out of sight, out of mind, so he could still get some comfort. But the only thing he was thankful for was that Michael Jordan announced his comeback and joined the Wizards. This is the biggest windfall of the year for the Wizards. When Jordan announced his comeback, the entire basketball world was shocked. After all, with Jordan's status as the first man in history, there is no need for him to return to fight. However, at that time, he said such a sentence in an interview with the media. My comeback is for Jiang. He is a fantastic young man and he has rekindled my desire to play. The same sentence can have different effects when spoken in the mouths of different people. You know, Michael Jordan is the first person in NBA history. This is his second comeback, and no one mentions it, except Jiang Pan. It can be seen how much he attaches great importance to Jiang Pan. Although Michael Jordan is old, from his first game after his comeback, he can still adapt to the intensity of the NBA and still has the ability to cut 20+. The general manager of the Wizards took a look at the schedule, and in a few games, they would face the Philadelphia 76ers, and now he didn't have a bottom in his mind. Now, his position as general manager is also on the verge of being laid off. He can only pray that the elderly Michael Jordan can work miracles. If with Michael Jordan, the Wizards defeated Jiang Pan, whether his bald general manager can last for a while longer depends on Xiao's gang master. The 76ers, who won their first away win of the new season, rushed back to Philadelphia overnight after the victory. I can guarantee that my wife will pick me up by car at the airport. On the plane, Iverson said very much. Before getting on the plane, Iverson's wife texted him that she would be met at the airport. Iverson's words made the 76ers single dog gang envious. The man fights on the court, and when he returns home, there is also the gentle country of his wife. I can really be regarded as a winner in life. However, Mutombo said, but Renjia Jiang is accompanied by 2 goddesses. Iverson frowned slightly. In fact, he was also envious in his heart, but he still forced his head and pretended not to care. I admit that Jiang's peach blossom luck is very prosperous. But so what? It's just fun, none of them are sincere. It's better to have a wife. Just say that the 2 he knows will come to pick him up? Huh. Stop dreaming. For Iverson's mouth, Jiang Pan is very indifferent, and he really doesn't care about these. A few hours later, the plane slowly landed at Philadelphia's airport. At this time, it was drizzling outside, the temperature dropped a lot, and a cool breeze blew through, and Iverson and others only felt that the art was chilling. Don't look at them as a muscular one, but they really don't resist the cold. After getting off the plane, Iverson's wife called him directly. When the phone rang, Iverson shook the phone in front of everyone even more. Look. My wife called me. After connecting the phone, Iverson also deliberately turned on the amplification. It's raining too much. I'll wait for you across the airport, so I won't go. The tone on the other end of the phone was flat, even a little tired. There is no excitement at all to welcome the hero back. Now it is raining heavily near the airport, and if you want to walk across the airport, you will inevitably get wet by the rain. Iverson's wife doesn't want to be so troublesome, and the matter of being poured is left to Iverson. It seems that this wife is not very good. Bruce Bowen muttered softly, but was still heard by Iverson. Cut. A fart. Plain is true, life, originally dull, occasionally come some thorns, excited, that is life. Anyway, I don't understand what I told you single dogs, after all, you don't have a wife. However, as soon as Iverson's words fell, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Not Iverson's wife, but Jessica Alba. After she saw Jiang Pan, she trotted over with an umbrella, and her anxious face was stained with a few drops of rain. This scene is simply beautiful. Iverson was stunned. Didn't she go to Minnesota with you? Without waiting for Jiang Pan to speak, Jessica Alba said first. I made an early flight in advance and came back first. I read the weather report and said that it might rain in Philadelphia today, so I made preparations in advance, but I didn't expect it to really rain. Husband, it's raining too much, don't pour it. Saying that, she handed the umbrella in her hand to Jiang Pan, and then obediently took his arm. The rain in the sky became heavier, and Jiang Pan and Alba held hands under their umbrellas unharmed. Iverson and others walked across the road, but they were already soaked by the rain. Unexpectedly, Jess got off the plane and ate a large mouthful of dog food. After Iverson saw this scene, he didn't want to stay for a moment. He only felt that he was slapped in the face, turned around and walked towards the opposite side of the airport. False life winner, Iverson goes to find his wife in the rainstorm. Real life winner, the goddess runs to deliver umbrellas to Jiang Pan. The gap between each cannot bear to look at it directly. Not long after, Jiang Pan and Jessica got into a taxi and came to a high-end restaurant. It was already dark, but the rain had not stopped. The two asked for a private room, and the waiter lit 2 candles for them. Piano dance music, candlelit dinners, lights and songs are filled with the flavor of AIMEI. This is a wave that belongs to Westerners, man. Jiang, do you know what romance is? Jessica Alba held her chin in both hands, stared at Jiang Pan, and suddenly asked. This problem stumped Jiang Pan. His mind is racing through the waves and rambling scenes in the TV series, and he is still thinking about how to organize these pictures into his own language. Jiang Pan shook his head. However, before he could answer, Jessica Alba spoke again. The so-called wave, man, is that I wave a little, you slow down. Hearing this, Jiang Pan was first stunned, and then suddenly realized. This is special. It turned out to be driving. Sure enough, once a woman gets up, there is nothing wrong with the man. Jiang Pan didn't expect that Jessica Alba would suddenly drive in front of him. Isn't it in the going of the red fruit? Ahem. So it is. Jiang Pan was a little embarrassed. By the way, you were traded to Philadelphia and live there now? Is there a house? Jessica Alba suddenly thought of this. She likes Jiang Pan, and of course she cares about his food, clothing, and living. Many men are indifferent in this regard, but women are different. They pay more attention to these details. I haven't bought a house yet, and I'm temporarily living in a temporary apartment arranged by the team, but I think it's okay to live, Jiang Pan said truthfully. Then don't go back to the apartment tonight. It's not early, my house is nearby. Why don't you go to my house to live? In fact, this is Jessica Alba's purpose. Without waiting for Jiang Pan to agree, she got up and pulled Jiang Pan and left. As she said, not far from the restaurant, there is a luxurious villa, and this is Jessica Alba's home. Besides, Jiang Pan is not the first time to go home with her. Tonight, Jiang Pan and Jessica Alba had a real experience. Waves, rambling. The next day, Jiang Pan woke up, and this sleep went straight to noon. It's late autumn and the weather is cooler, but the weather outside and inside can be very different. I think it's time to buy a house. Jiang Pan leaned on the head of the bed and hugged Jessica Alba leisurely. Okay. In the future, when you buy a house, I will be responsible for looking beautiful at home. Jessica Alba chuckled. I understand that. I'm responsible for making money to support my family. Jiang Pan took the stubble. This response should not be wrong. However, the goddess in her arms shook her head. Then it was pasted to Jiang Pan's ear. Nope. You are in charge of arranging flowers. This time, Jiang Pan was defeated even more thoroughly. He was completely invincible on the pitch, but once he turned on the car, Jessica Alba is the real car god. 2 days later, the 76ers' third game of the new season arrived as scheduled. The opponent in this game is the Chicago Bulls. After Michael Jordan left, the Bulls dynasty quickly collapsed and is now a fishbelly team in the East, which is also embarrassing. In the eyes of fans, this is a game of strength and weakness, and the Bulls have no chance of beating the 76ers. However, this game has a point to watch, that is, Jiang Pan v Eddie Curry. Eddie Curry, at 2.13 meters, he is a talented high school student and the 4th pick in this year's draft. And Tyson Chandler, Kwame Buelang, and known as the high school 3 treasures. Eddie Curry just scored 25 plus 10 in the last game, which is quite a sensation. He also has very good strength, and the Bulls also regard him as a core to cultivate, and even some fans believe that he has the strength to fight Jiang Pan. Before the start of this game, many media in the United States began to copy the heat between the two people. Jiang, I heard that Eddie Curry is also a good rookie. He's supposed to be in position against you in this game, you have to be careful. In the dressing room, Uncle Moo reminded. I also watched that guy's match highlights. His tonnage is not small, net fat, maybe he can cause you some trouble. Iverson echoed. However, Jiang Pan did not take him seriously at all. as strong as KG was beaten like this, let alone a Eddie Curry. In the last game, after defeating the Timberwolves, Jiang Pan had a good understanding of his strength. If his prediction is correct, he should have become the top presence in the NBA by now, and the only one he sees as an opponent now is the Shark O'Neal. As for the others, Jiang Pan did not pay attention to it at all. Away dressing room. Coach, don't worry, I'll solve him. Eddie Curry confidently took the initiative. He watched Jiang Pan's first 2 matches and knew that this was a super tough guy, and it didn't make him feel intimidated, but made him want to challenge even more. In the last game, he played good numbers, which also added a lot of confidence to himself. Maybe he is a little worse than Jiang Pan, but his advantage is tonnage, especially he has a fat tonnage that the whole league does not have, and static talent can completely make Jiang Pan deflated. This is what Eddie Curry knows about himself now. The Bulls head coach glanced at Eddie Curry. He was not so optimistic. If Jiang Pan was so easy to deal with, then Kevin Garnett would not be so miserable. At the same time, the Celestial Empire CTV5 is also broadcasting this game, and the commentators are still Zhang Li and Su Kun. Director Zhang, do you think that in this match, Jiang Pan can continue his performance in the first 2 games? Because theoretically, it's really unscientific for rookies to play such data in 2 consecutive games. Do you think this is a short-lived outbreak, or will it last for a long time? Su Kun asked Zhang reasonable. The performance of the first 2 games of Jiang Pan is indeed phenomenal. That is the data played by superstars. Like you said, it's incredible for a rookie to play like this in a row. But Jiang Pan is an epic-making player who creates miracles. Everything is incredible, and it is reasonable to happen to him. Zhang said reasonably, the law of reason, online again. In this game against the Bulls, everyone is looking forward to the confrontation between Jiang Pan and Eddie Curry. In the last game, Eddie Curry also played a star-level performance. Do you think he can maintain the performance of the last game in the confrontation with Jiang Pan this year? Su Kun asked again. For this question, Zhang reasonable directly expressed no. Eddie Curry is at most a talented young player, and players like this abound in the league, and he and Jiang Pan are not comparable. In the last game, he did play well, but it was because the opponent did not have a real center forward, which made him play well on the inside. And even then, he only got 20 points. Most importantly, don't forget, Eddie Curry is still a high school student. In the live broadcast room, Zhang Reasonable and Su Kun talked a lot about Jiang Pan, and when Zhang and you said that Eddie Curry was a high school student, laughter broke out in the live broadcast room. Because of Jiang Pan's high school student remarks in the post-match interview, it has caused a meme. From Kwame Buelang to Kevin Garnett to today's Eddie Curry Jiang Pan, all of them are geniuses who jumped straight into BA from high school students. The bubble series of Jiang Pan military training high school students has reached the 3rd episode, episode 76. One hit stun Eddie Curry. Eddie Curry dormant point. The 76ers will be at home tonight for the Bulls, and the champion Lang Jiang Pan is to accept the challenge of Eddie Curry, the 4th pick. Eddie Curry is a very talented player. He weighed close to 300 pounds at the age of 18, and is said to be unbeatable in the Chicago area. He and Kwame Buelang and Tyson Chandler were called the class of 2001 high school 3 treasures, but unfortunately lost to the strongest dark horse of NCAA March Madness in the competition for the top spot. In the commentary booth at the scene, Kenny Smith is introducing Eddie Curry to fans. This guy has a lot of tonnage. I don't know if he can withstand Jiang's power on the inside. Maybe he is the closest player to Jiang in this rookie. Flying Pig Barkley said seriously. This is the first time Jiang has encountered a fat shield-type center like Eddie Curry in a game, and I wonder if he will be able to play as strong as before. And Kenny Smith is somewhat looking forward to the showdown between the two. In fact, for Eddie Curry as a player, Jiang Pan also has a certain understanding of him, and what impressed him the most was Eddie Curry's weight. Historically, after entering the NBA league, he has been plagued by the thick layer of subcutaneous fat, so he has not been able to develop well and wasted his talent. Facing Eddie Curry today, Jiang Pan is not worried, although the opponent's tonnage is heavier than him, but he still has full confidence compared to strength. And even if he is equal to the opponent in terms of strength, he can still use his speed to tease the opponent. The two sides began to appear on the court for warm-up. Eddie Curry first glanced at Jiang Pan as soon as he came on the court. Tonight he will beat Jiang Pan in front of all the fans, telling these fans that Jiang Pan is just a false name, and he is the best rookie of this session. Moreover, Eddie Curry has a pride that belongs to high school students on his head. In addition to Eddie Curry, there was also someone who was also staring at Jiang Pan, and his eyes looked very fierce. And this person is Ron Artest, later Charity World Peace, C.I. Shiping, formerly known as Ron Artest, renamed Charity World Peace in 2011. Artest, who is in the 3rd season of his career, is still only a backup player for the Bulls, has not received a lot of use from the Jing team, and has not played much. This guy watched Jiang Pan's first 2 matches, and he appreciated Jiang Pan's tough style in the game, which was the same as him. If he had the opportunity today, he was looking forward to fighting Jiang Pan. Before the start of the match, the reporter still conducted a pre-match interview with both sides. Coach Bill, this is your 2nd game of the new season. and in the first game, you won easily. It looks like you're a big improvement from last season. Will you make the playoffs your goal this year? Bulls head coach Bill nodded. Of course, there's no doubt we've been promoted this summer, and I think now we have what it takes to make the playoffs. After Michael Jordan left, the Bulls struggled all these years, but now I feel like it's time to rise again. Coach Bill's last words were loud and showed his confidence. But today is going to be a tough battle for you. The 76ers are strong enough in the East. Are you sure to beat them? The reporter continued to ask. Indeed, they are a strong opponent, especially after getting that Celestial Empire center. They've now had 2 wins in a row, and every game is a big win. But that doesn't make us fearful. The Bulls have always been a team that likes to challenge tough opponents. Our Eddie Curry will also teach that Celestial Empire center a lesson in the game. Although Coach Beal is well aware of the gap between the two teams, he is still full of confidence at this time. The game can be lost, but the momentum must not be lost, especially when facing the camera. Eddie, today you are about to face the strongest rookie Jiang of this year. Will you feel nervous now? The reporter came to Eddie Curry and also gave him an interview. Nervous? Oh. I'm only excited right now, because I'm about to beat him. Also, I want to correct him, he is not the strongest rookie in this session, the real strongest rookie, standing in front of you. Eddie Curry patted his thick chest. His answer was equally confident, but the reporter felt a little speechless. Jiang Pan's strength is obvious to all. Why does Eddie Curry have the confidence to beat Jiang Pan? Although his performance in the last game was also good, his statistics were much worse than Jiang Pan. Also, today, I want to correct the name of the high school student again. Finally, Eddie Curry did not forget to mention the word high school student, because after the first game, Jiang Pan once despised high school students. Jiang Pan's first game after entering the league was against Kwame Buelang, the first high school student in the whole of the country, and the result was hammered. Then in the second game, he beat Kevin Garnett, who is one of the representatives of high school students. Jiang Pan's continuous hammering of high school players has now developed into a terrier. Although many high school players were very upset with his remarks, there was nothing they could do about it. At this time, Jiang Pan was warming up on the field. Jiang, I think you still have to be careful with that guy, he looks quite unique. Although he had reminded Jiang Pan when he was in the locker room before, Iverson was still a little uneasy, and he was afraid that Jiang Pan would underestimate the enemy, so he reminded him again. Okay, I see. Jiang Pan patted Iverson's shoulder and smiled, but believe me, this guy won't make any waves. Jiang Pan is still very confident, but he is also a little curious about what it would be like to play against a player like Eddie Curry. He started playing in March Madness in the NCAA and has seen almost any type of center along the way, but I haven't seen a guy as fat as Eddie Curry. But now, Jiang Pan's priority is not to think about how to deal with Eddie Curry, but to win this game. It's the first week of the new season, and this game will be the 76ers' last game of the week. According to the system task, Jiang Pan needs to win the 4 Eastern Conference Weekly Player of the Year in the first month of the new season, but it cannot be folded in the first week. As long as he wins this match, this week's Player of the Week, Jiang Pan is 580% sure of winning. Moments later, the pre-match warm-up ended, the game officially began, and the starting lineups of both sides were released. Bulls starter, point guard, Jamal Crawford; quantile, Ron Moselle; small forward, Jalen Ross; power forward, Brad Miller; center, Eddie Curry; 76ers starter, point guard, Allen Iverson; quantile, Raga Bell; small forward, Bruce Bowen; power forward, Dikembe Mutombo; center, Jiang Pan. Beep. The referee's whistle blows, and both sides stand in their respective positions to perform the mid-circle jump. The brat of the Celestial Empire, unfortunately tell you that the one who burst you today is a high school student. Eddie Curry stood on the opposite side of Jiang Pan and directly provoked. Just you? Also matched? Jiang Pan immediately turned back, since he obtained KG's trash talk skill card. He hasn't lost spray trash talk. The referee threw the ball high, and Jiang Pan jumped lightly, and he successfully got the ball. Eddie Curry's tonnage is too large, his running and jumping ability is limited, and he can only watch Jiang Pan take away his first offensive opportunity. The 76ers executed the first offense of the opening game, and Jiang Pan used his speed advantage to directly pass Eddie Curry and rushed towards the basket. Allen Iverson raised his arm and sent a precise pass. Boom. The sound of the fried frame sounded, and the opening empty snap came as scheduled. Kami Jiang. On the first goal, the atmosphere in the 76ers home audience was detonated, and the audience shouted Jiang Pan's exclusive slogan. The opening game was marked by Jiang Pan's use of speed into a signature aerial relay, but Eddie Curry was not discouraged. In terms of speed, he is not as good as Jiang Pan is irreparable, he has long been prepared. Jiang Pan's truly murderous weapon is power. Back in turn, the Bulls sent out the baseline ball. Jamal Crawford advances with the ball. From outside the three-point line, Crawford asked for a cover to block Iverson in front of him, and then changed direction to complete the breakthrough and made a mid-range jumper and a stop. Ugh, this set of movements is done perfectly and smoothly. 2-2. This is the second season of Crawford's career, and while not yet emerging, it is a seedling worth nurturing. As a crosser, Jiang Pan also has a deep understanding of this player, and Crawford will play great games in the coming seasons and become a super sixth man. but he does not have such quality yet. It's still the familiar opening. Jiang and A completed the empty connection buckle, but the Bulls were not to be outdone, and they returned immediately. Both teams started well, and hopefully the Bulls can keep up the momentum. Kenny Smith explained seriously. Blindly crushing the big score is not interesting. Basketball is still a little suspenseful to be wonderful on the court. Iverson held the ball through the half, directly handed the ball to Jiang Pan. This seems to have become the norm for the 76ers, and Jiang Pan is singled out after the opening, and these 3 games are the same. After receiving the ball in the low post, Jiang Pan directly faced Eddie Curry. At this moment, all the fans stood up and shouted. They were looking forward to the duel between this group of giants. Wow, here it comes. It's finally here. Jiang and Eddie Curry, who will be better? Let's wait and see. However, before Kenny Smith's words were finished, Jiang Pan had already completed this attack. I saw Jiang Pan lower his center of gravity, put his strong shoulders on Eddie Curry's chest, and then exerted a force, which actually directly pushed him up. Immediately afterwards, Jiang Pan turned around and was a two-handed clasp. The 76ers attacked this time, and it took only 5.8 seconds in 24 seconds. OMG. Jiang actually directly violently overturned Eddie Curry. After seeing this scene, Kenny Smith was first stunned, and then immediately exclaimed, "Jiang's power is really terrible. You must know that Eddie Curry weighs more than 300 pounds. Flying Pig Barkley was also shocked, and he even had some suspicions that Eddie Curry was faking a fall. At the same time, inside the CTV5 live broadcast room of the Celestial Empire, good fellow. This collision directly knocked the opponent away. But this also seems too exaggerated. Is there a suspicion of fake falling? If it's a fake fall, this acting is a bit superb, but this ball is in a reasonable collision zone, so there is no problem with this ball. Zhang also believes that Eddie Curry is trying to use fake falls to cheat fouls. Even if it is a fake fall, we can see the power that Jiang Pan has shown. In the face of such a big man of full tonnage, Jiang Pan still has no hesitation, playing so tough under the basket. Su Kun praised. At this time, the camera showed Eddie Curry, who fell out of the court, lying on the floor, eyes closed, motionless. Kick your legs, close your eyes, and sleep in place. It looks like Eddie Curry is still pretending to be useless, and there is no suspicion of foul on this ball. Kenny Smith said with a smile. Eddie, hurry up. The bottom line referee couldn't stand it, and Ning warned loudly. But Eddie Curry still lay motionless, as if he had taken sleeping pills, and everyone was worried. The Bulls players immediately stepped forward to check on him and shouted his name, but there was still no response. Huh? What's going on? Is there something wrong with this? Seeing that Eddie Curry was delayed, Kenny Smith also frowned, just when everyone was wondering. Quick! Call the team doctor, he fainted. The shouts of the Bulls players broke the silence. Eddie Curry, this is Stunned by Jiang Pan, episode 77. 3 seconds on the court, real man. Artist descends, life and death. Team doctor. Doctor. Fast, the Bulls players shouted urgently, and the atmosphere at the scene immediately became tense. Fans at the home court of the 76ers all went silent, looking at Eddie Curry, who had passed out in a coma in shock. No one expected that a normal confrontation in Jiang Pan would directly knock Eddie Curry unconscious. The scene was urgently suspended, and the Bulls paramedics immediately ran over and found that Eddie Curry had really passed out. A situation like this is still more dangerous, because it is not clear whether the reason why he really passed out was because of the impact of an external force or because of some disease himself. The Bulls team doctor immediately carried out emergency treatment, and everyone held their breath and looked solemn. Fans at the scene also began to pray for Eddie Curry, although most of these are 76ers fans, but in the face of injuries, regardless of each other. Blessed, I hope Eddie Curry is okay. At the commentary table, Kenny Smith also began to pray to God. Damn. Pegasus Barkley also scolded. The last thing he wanted was injuries on the pitch. Jiang Pan also frowned at this time. He really didn't mean it. Who knew that this guy was so careless? Allen Iverson gently patted Jiang Pan's arm and soothed. It's not your fault. I believe he won't have an accident. Well, Jiang Pan shrugged helplessly. After 58 seconds of emergency rescue from the team doctor, Eddie Curry finally responded. His eyelids moved, and then slowly opened. Who am I? Where am I? What happened? A series of question marks flooded into Eddie Curry's mind. Eddie Curry rubbed his somewhat blurry eyes, before clearing up the scene in front of him. Yes, isn't that still playing? Why did you fall asleep? Wrong. Not asleep, I was knocked out by the river. Eddie Curry finally remembered the scene before the coma. He only felt that his body was hit by a huge force, and then he lost consciousness, which was like experiencing a death. Wake up. He's awake. Seeing Eddie Curry open his eyes, these medics of the Bulls immediately exclaimed, Eddie, are you okay? It's me, Jalen Ross. Eddie, I'm Coach Bill. Bulls head coach Beal and the rest of the players sat in a circle, asking with concern. Eddie Curry rubbed his chest again, and felt a faint pain. Are you okay?